Darling, how do you do? Struck it in, start of all the ever do. Do.
After all, many years of doing the recording sessions, you know, I had to tell Jerry Wexler that I was leaving the voice group and this and that. I mean, it was a hard decision, but it was one that I knew that I had to make, and one that had been in my heart for a while. And much to my mother's chagrin, I packed my bags, and her not speaking to me for a week, but I made the trek out to San Francisco. I went out there and I told my mother that I would be back, and I didn't ever. I never went back. I got to San Francisco and I thought like I was so hip, and you know, I had my headband on. I was so hip, and I got out there and everybody like was a hippie, and everybody had long hair, and everybody was like, you know, into that scene, and I was like, I was literally scared to death, and somehow or other, you know, I made it through. I ended up working at Union Oil in San Francisco with a whole bunch of other friends, and some of those friends were a friend of Keith Godchaux, and that's how I met Keith. The rest is history. Keith and I got together, and we actually decided to get married before I had ever heard him play the piano. And after I heard him play the piano, it was like, I made the right decision. When I was at Union Oil, everybody was into the Grateful Dead. And so I would listen to some of the records, and I would go, you guys are nuts. You're on drugs or something, because these guys don't know how to play music. I mean, I'm not belittling that. I mean, it was like fantastic. But I just couldn't relate, you know, and they kept trying to get me to go see the Grateful Dead, and I said, I'm not going to go see them. And so finally, my friends at Union Oil convinced me to go see the Grateful Dead, and I said, well, I'm going to prove to you guys that you're just on drugs, and I'm not going to take anything. I'll go, but I'm not going to take anything. And so I didn't, and the Grateful Dead came on, and they were on. It was like the magical Grateful Dead on. Who knows what I'm talking about? And I sat there, and my little pea brain was blasted all over Winterland, and I went, oh my God, how do they do that? That was the beginning of my transition from expanding my musical consciousness, you know, into something else. When I sat up there in the balcony of Winterland, I said to whoever it was sitting next to me, when I sing again, it's going to be with that band. I came home from Union Oil one day and I said, well, let's listen to some Grateful Dead. And Keith said, I don't want to listen to it anymore. I want to play it. And I said, okay, let's go get in the band. And so we took out the San Francisco Chronicle and saw that Garcia's band, you know, his band was playing at the Keystone Corner in San Francisco. When Jerry came off the stage, and I tapped him up on the arm and I said, my husband and I have something we want to talk to you about. And he looked at me, he looked at me and he said, okay. You want to come backstage? And I said, well, all right. And so Keith and I were so scared, we were just like, you know, and we didn't go backstage. We were just too afraid. It was just, you know, too much. And Garcia saw something, and he came from backstage and came and sat down at our table. And Keith turned around and he looked at Jerry, and he looked back at me, and he looked at Jerry again, and he said, "You'll have to talk to my old lady. I can't."
Donna Jean Godchaux-MacKay's journey began in Alabama's Muscle Shoals, where her rich voice first rose among the soulful sounds of 1960s rock and R&B. As a young session singer, she lent her talent to hits like When a Man Loves a Woman and Elvis Presley's Suspicious Minds, quickly earning a reputation in the studio scene. Her path led her west, where she met keyboardist Keith Godchaux, her future husband, and soon joined the legendary Grateful Dead. In 1971, Donna Jean became the Dead's first and only female full-time vocalist. Her harmonies softened and deepened the band's sound, blending with their psychedelic mix of rock, folk, and blues. She helped shape classic albums such as Europe 72 and Terrapin Station, and her soulful stage presence became a defining part of the Dead's live energy. After nearly a decade of touring, Donna Jean and Keith left the band in 1979 to pursue their own music. Tragedy struck the following year when Keith died in a car accident, leaving her devastated. In time, she found peace and love again with bassist David McKay and returned to performing, forming the Donna Jean Godchaux Band and reconnecting with the joy of music. Donna Jean passed away in Nashville at age 78 after a long battle with cancer. Her family remembered her as a sweet and warmly beautiful spirit, and fans celebrated her enduring influence on American rock. From the soulful studios of Muscle Shoals to the cosmic stages of the Grateful Dead, her voice remains a timeless echo of grace and strength.